You don't have to be a superhero to save a life. Something as simple as donating bone marrow can make a difference. The process is quite simple. Bone marrow is a soft, spongy material found in your large bones. Doctors use special hollow needles to withdraw liquid marrow from both sides of the back of the pelvic bone in order to replace deceased bone marrow with healthy tissues. Medical Director and CEO of the South African Bone Marrow Registry, Charlotte Ingram, joins me now to discuss the importance of this procedure. Charlotte, very good evening to you. I must say I learned a lot researching what bone marrow does and how it's taken out. And what really stood out for me is how not everyone can use the same bone marrow.
No. I'm sure you've heard of blood groups, and we have different blood groups, and even in paternity testing, we've been able to use blood groups previously to find out, you know, from a paternity point of view, who's the mother, who's the father in a family, etc., and a child. But you also have those groups on your white cells, and those are called human leukocyte antigens, but they have to match exactly. Otherwise, they will get rejected. And just on taking bone marrow, I would say that only about 3% max of the bone marrows we do are actual bone marrow collections from the pelvic bone. Mostly, and more than 90% of them, are done through a stem cell collection process now, where we stimulate the marrow to produce stem cells that move into the peripheral blood. And we can collect those cells in your peripheral blood. Similar to a platelet collection, when you go and donate platelets or donate blood, obviously it's a longer procedure. You have to be connected to a machine. The blood is taken out of one arm, put back in the other arm, and the machine actually finds those stem cells. The process is just by centrifuge and gravity. You can separate out the stem cells into a bag, and it almost looks like a blood transfusion. And then you just put that transfusion up, that bag of blood, and in this case, it's stem cells, bone marrow stem cells, and they are transfused like that into the patient that is in need of a bone marrow transplant. So I think the fears of the pain and the process are not like that at all.
Yes, I was going to say that must surely help people coming forward, offering to assist. And in that call for people to donate, I believe that you need more ethnically diverse bone marrow donors. Tell us a little bit more about that. I know you touched on the fact that we can use the same blood, but not in this instance.
Yes, so here in this sense you've got a match, and part of it is in your inheritance, so you are more likely to find a donor in your own family, but only about 30% of people in need of a transplant will find that person in their family. The other 70-odd% are dependent on the registry to find them a match. And we look at the haplotypes and the HLA typing, and all our donors, as you know now, are done by a cheek swab. So we know what the HLA typing is. We have very sophisticated methods of searching through our engines. And in fact, we link into the World Marrow Donor Association. So we have access to our own donors that are only 74%, but 34 million, well, I think it's 39 million now, of donors worldwide that we can look at. The problem is that South Africa is, as we all know, a very diverse ethnic nation. And so our genetics is very, very complex. And we can even trace some people back to the San people. So when you start mixing, say, San with some African, Central African, West African, plus some Caucasian mixtures, you're more likely to find that within your own genetic group or your own population group. And so the more people we have with this diverse pattern of genetics, the more likely we are to find a donor. So we really need our people of color to come forward. We can find lots of Caucasian donors, you know, going through the registries internationally, but we are very unique in our genotypes. And
okay, so tell me, if somebody does want to donate, what do they do? And I know everybody's different, but if somebody is suffering from leukemia, for example, how quickly can this bone marrow transfusion help them?
Well, it can, but it's dependent on who's treating them and the physician. And not all patients with leukemia or lymphoma, and those are the most likely causes. There are some genetic immune-related disorders that we also do bone marrow transplant for, and even some sickle cells sometimes, sickle cell anemia and Fanconi's anemia. But they are dependent on the doctor's management, and he will decide if they're very high risk, they will probably go to transplant, and that will probably be their only chance to have a bone marrow transplant.
So we've run out of time. If somebody wants to donate, what should they do?
They can get onto our website, www.sabmr.co.za, or they can call us, but they just have to go onto the website, and you can become a donor there.